Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see where we sitting. Let's go out here to our scans. So starting off with our low flow scanner, it's looking like PLRZ is up here, and then Kala is up here. One has 3 million shares, one has 2 million shares, and looking like it's running up on PLRZ. Let's see if Kala has any type of news catalyst. So looking here, does not look like it has any news catalyst. Yeah. Okay. So we got 2 there on my high floats, and on my what I traded yesterday was H2 or HTOO, the one that I was watching in pre-market. It's the only one that I saw with some type of catalyst, so that's the one that I kind of chased down. Let's go look at it, what I did over here. Okay. Where are my... There we go. Okay, that works. Okay, now we're ready. All right, so we were looking at H2. H2 is what I traded yesterday. Let me make sure y'all on the right screen. Yep, perfect. Okay, so let's go back. H2 popped up in pre-market, and the first thing that I do, we went and did our due diligence on H2, and it was a natural gas oil refinery out of Dublin, Ireland. Came up here, and I was like, okay, well, let's just find structure first. And it never did give us any true structure in the pre-market. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait. And as it came out into the open, it dipped down here to the 370s. And I was like, okay, that may be an idea for a bottom. Let me zoom in here so y'all can see this better. Okay, there we go. Okay, so right here. So as it came into the open, it dipped down back to a low that it made in pre-market. And I was like, okay, well, that's an upwards idea. We'll see how that hangs. Came up here, kind of held the ATR highs, and it also had the ATR. It had multiple ATRs right here that it was kind of hugging. And it came up here and tested this level a couple of times at the $4 flat. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Wonder, can it go back up there after proving that this is an uptrend? And so that's what it did. It came down here, tested again to a right on the previous day's ATR right there, peeked down on that and popped up here. And this is where I was getting in. So basically, I took my trade. Let me see what time I took my trade. I took that trade at 9:34. So 9:34. 9:34. Where is it? Oh, I forgot. This is on 9:34. Is that right? Oh, no. I took that trade at 8:42. I was like, how did I take it at 9:34? That would have made me miss the trade. All right, 8:42 is where I took the trade. Okay. So right up in here, when it came down here, on this 388, I was looking for it to ride above this 372. It did spike down there and held above the previous level. So I mean, this is where my stop was at 375. And so it was a 20-cent stop. It did not hit it, held up, went on up here, and I was taking profit right around this area here on the first time. I had 574 shares. So I took way over half. I took like 75% off or a little bit more than 75%. And I had just a little bit riding into here. I think I may have had maybe 25 shares left of that 547. It went up here and I sold. But, you know, during this, I was looking for it to break. So I was trying to hold a little bit of position, but it just wouldn't. So it is what it is. And it ended up falling back down. But that trade was $85. So I was like, okay, well, it's a slower day. You know, H2 was the only thing that I saw with Catalyst. So I'm like, it is what it is. Looking over here on my TraderSync journal, this is where I'm sitting on the month. I've only taken 2 trades. Let me see. I only taken 2 trades there, and both of them are green. So QTTB was one trade, and then H2 was another one. And so far, we're sitting on the calendar, just, you know, if it needs to be a no trade day, it will. And the other thing is, this was a Wednesday, so I made money on a Wednesday. So I wasn't greedy. I wasn't looking for that 30 cents. I said, you know what? I'm gonna be okay with 15 cents. And that's exactly what this trade was, 15 cents. Because if it's not like the top volume mover or something like that, and it's really not moving with the fire that we like to see and the range and the ATR, it's like, you know what, this is missing some of my scope, so let me just take what I can get and get on down and just build the account a little bit. So first trade was on Monday, 42 bucks, and then on Wednesday trade, 85 bucks. So we'll see what we can see today. Just patient trading, not really rushing. You know, if it's going up, that means nothing to me. I want structure. I want to see the bones. I want to see the bones. But anyway, back over here to the low floats, I'm seeing PLRZ and Kala. Let's go and look at both of these in depth. PLRZ, let me move that news back over here. So where is that news? This right here is what I want to move. So I will activate and drag this with me. Oh man, released it. Activate. Change node, remove node. I wonder, can I actually just set it to a different value? Oh, I could put it on a different date. Let's go to, can I put it on today's date, the 4th at, what is this, 6 o'clock? Let's see if it just moves like that. That'll be dope. 6 o'clock. And press OK. Oh, it did it. Oh, it did it. It did it, but it might be down there. Let me see, where is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. So it just went to the time that I had selected. Okay. I've never done that before. I shall remember. So if I have an old note that's way back there, I just set the date to what I'm looking at now, and bang, it'll jump there. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the auto. All right, but yeah, this one, this is an Israeli stock, so I'm definitely not going to be playing with this one. I know a lot of people did take losses on PLRZ, and I refuse to, because I know how Israeli and Chinese stocks do me. So I'm like, nope. Especially on the catalyst that it had, it's really got to sell itself better than that to try to get me. I'm like, nah, I know you're trying to punch me in the mouth. I already know it. Kala though, let's look at Kala's charting. So Kala started the morning. Let's see if I can zoom back just a little bit. Started the morning pre-market down here at 107, but closed yesterday at 93 cents. Went up here to the 139s, came back down. And now it's back up here to the 139s. But the problem is no catalyst. Kala we have seen before though. Yeah, because I got notes out here. So on the daily chart, let's look at the notes that I got out here. Kala was a Massachusetts, US-based healthcare biotechnology with a float of 8.1 million. So yeah, we've definitely seen Kala before. Not sure where that note went, but okay. But yeah, coming on up here, let's actually, there's not really many obvious levels out here on Kala. It has, well, it has one out here with the 190s, which I'm not sure if it can get up there without any catalyst, but what was the old catalyst? Why did I take notes on it before? Let's see. So December 1st, Kala appoints David Lazar. Okay, the investor that invested all that money, huh? Okay. And then from there, we haven't seen any more news behind his investment. So one investor invested. I'm not too hyper concerned with that. Oh, but anyway, patient trading, two green trades, and just chilling out, finding structure before I enter. That's been the main thing for these last couple of months. Just finding structure. Forget trading levels, forget all that stuff. Find structure first, then see what these levels are. You know, how is the structure moving around a level? All right, so let's go over here to the news and see what's on the front page. Another, they always talk about this K-shaped economy. Has Wall Street on edge, why it may be okay. Market doubts Hassett can deliver at Fed top fund manager. Bitcoin heads to 2026 into 2026 with renewed acceptance and volatility. Alphabet's AI chips are a potential $900 billion secret sauce. Wall Street shifts AI narrative from bubble to air pocket. Um, so Goldman Copper's breakout above 11,000 won't last. Mark Cuban urges Trump to cut fees holding back U.S. generics. Trump wants Asia's Qt Key cars to be made and sold in the U.S. Qt Key. EU reviews removing tariffs on VW EVs built in China. Silver pulls back from record high as traders lock in profits. Explainer can Trump accounts boost savings for lower income? Oh yeah, he did start the savings accounts for families. Nexus isn't going all in on AI, keeping half of its new 700 million fund for India startups. Maximize your social security, blah blah blah. So there's really no big headliners out here. So let's see what they're talking about. No notes to be taken this morning. All right, Salesforce stock
Now
pops.
to Salesforce, that company's third quarter results just hitting the wire. And Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley has a look at the numbers. Dan.
Salesforce.
Yeah, Josh, they were up more than 5% for the moment, and now they're back down, just up, more than 3%. They beat on the earnings per share. That came in at 325. The expectation was 286, but they were just at the expectation level of 10.3 billion, give or take a few million for revenue. Now, the big deal here is the outlook, Q4 outlook. The expectation was for 10.9 billion, excuse me. They see between 11.13 and 11.23 billion. Some of the numbers worth going over. They're seeing Agentforce and Data 360 annual recurring revenue coming in at 1.4 billion. That's up 114% year over year. They also said that the annual recurring revenue for Agentforce surpassed $500 million in Q3. That was up 333% year over year. They also say they now have 9,500 paid Agentforce deals and that they're processing 3.2 trillion tokens. This is all incredibly important for Salesforce's, the idea that AI would come for software and kind of eat it for lunch has been a big concern, and whether or not they could get their customers to buy into the idea of AI agents. And so that's why the whole idea of Agent Force getting that huge growth, that 330%, is so important. And so, obviously investors liking what they see, kind of, not necessarily going sideways, but going up and down a bit, but still a very good quarter for Salesforce here.
Dan, you look at the stock moving high in the after hours, but heading into the print, I mean, this was not good. This stock year to date had been shelled. It was down about 30%. Now, analysts are they're still bullish, about 80%. Seeing here, they sell it's a buy. That includes Brent Till over Jefferies, friend of the show. I know Brent, long-term believer. He was telling his clients into the print, hey, he thinks they can reach double-digit growth driven by Agent Force monetization. He's looking long-term for improvements in the core. In terms of valuation, after that drawdown, Dan, Bloomberg was noting shares have actually never been cheaper for Mark Benioff's company. But bottom line on this Salesforce debate, Dan, I mean, this bull-bear debate, I'm just interested to get your kind of take there. AI leader, Dan, long-term or no risk here of AI displacement?
I think they're in a good position to grab share, or at least ensure that they continue to stay in the space thanks to their Agent Force products. And so that's going to be the kind of driving force, likely moving forward, at least as far as the street goes, especially with their intense focus on, or its rather intense focus on AI anything. If a company isn't in the AI space, they get hammered for it. But especially a enterprise software offering. And so Salesforce, obviously, Microsoft seemed like, it came out with AI attached to its products relatively quickly thanks to its open AI agreements. Google's been slowly getting into the space, but nothing near what Salesforce is capable of. And so the fact that they have Agent Force, they appear to be growing it well. I mean, that 9,500 paid accounts, it's not anything to sneeze at. And so, I think that they're clearly on a good path here. We just have to see if the street continues to agree. And, it's not as though Agent Force is necessarily, just came out this past quarter. There's been a lot of kind of, as you said, consternation as to where this goes. And seemingly it's going the right way.
Apple shares on track here to snap a 7-day win streak, but this under-the-radar rally has some investors looking for ways to play the tech giant. Join me now, got Jessica Inskip, stockbrokers.com, Director of Investor Research in the Options Pit, sponsored by Tasty Trade. Jessica, it is always great to see you. So let's talk about Apple, Jessica. I mean, what a story for 2025. Earlier in the year, Jessica, it's out of favor. They've got no AI strategy. What does Tim Cook know? No, I think I remember some analysts even suggesting maybe it was time for a change in the C-suite in Cupertino. Now spin ahead, that stock's up, I think, 40% in 6 months. But what's the trade on the iPhone maker, Jessica? What do you see?
Yeah, absolutely. When we see a stock like this that's making all-time highs, a lot of time individual retail investors especially, we feel like we need to time the market. We got in too late, or whatever that fundamental or even technical reason may be why we like the underlying security. So the way that we can utilize this with options is by creating an obligation to buy the stock, and we can do that by selling a put or a cash secured put. So essentially we would sell a put. It creates an obligation where I have to buy the stock at the strike price at any time through that expiration period. But in exchange for that obligation, I collect a premium. And the premium really acts as a buffer, or this range that you can create where you put time on your side. So essentially, first-time options traders tend to buy stocks outright or buy calls for their first options trade. When you do that, time is working against you. You actually have negative theta. Positive theta occurs when we sell an option and we're putting time more in our favor. So it's less about timing the market and more about creating this window of time or a time frame and a cushion.
Do you consider, Jessica, a trade here, like the one you're outlining, is this a good trade for, a relative newbie? Like if I'm just getting my feet wet in the options market, is this a smart trade?
Yeah, I think it's a great trade for the first time options trader. And oftentimes, when you're a first time options trader, you end up buying options rather than selling them. And once again, it's when you can put time on your side. So, for example, the way that I'm constructing this one, I'm going 45 days out because an option is derived from the underlying security. So, in this case, Apple, it has different premium components. We have to consider implied volatility, so a likely movement. We have to consider the time frame when it expires. So by going about 45 days, I have more in that premium that's excess based rather than just on the underlying security. So I'm going out 45 days so I can maximize basically that decaying. My strike price I'm choosing is very close to the money, which means it's very close to the current price of the stock, which is $285. I'm collecting a premium of about $6.75 per share. That was earlier today. I checked before I hopped on and it increased $1, so it's almost $8. But what that does now is I am creating an obligation to buy Apple at $285 per share. And I have that obligation for the next about 44 days. And I collect $6.75 per share in exchange for that obligation. And basically, I've created this range. Think about the chart. If we look at Apple around 285, if I go up 675, that's about 291. That is my upwards range. But my downwards range, and really my break even, is that premium that I receive of 675. My obligation is at 285. But since I already collected 675, my break even is 278.25. So essentially, for a first time options trader, we are utilizing the same risk as buying the stock outright, but we're reducing that risk by the premium received. So we're slowly introducing that options component aspect. I like to think of it like a limit buy order. When we're putting in a limit order to buy a stock, or Apple in this case, you would still set aside your cash within that limit order. But in this case, we're setting aside our cash that if it hits that obligation kicks in, we're going to have to buy the stock. However, I'm getting paid while I wait. And that's the difference here.
Finally, Jessica, before we let you go, we talked Apple there, but I just want to get your thoughts, bigger picture too. I mean, how should investors think about the potential of the options market as 2025?
I ain't even gonna lie. If you are a beginner options trader, half the stuff she just said would go over your head. You'd be like, huh? What? What? Huh? Nah, bruh. That was a very wordy technical definition she gave. That was yeah. I don't think any beginner that's watching this feels any more better about options buying.
Draws to a close, Jessica. How do you want to be positioned here?
Yeah, so I love to throw a top-down approach with all of my investing and looking at the macro as well. I think when we look at options, we tend to, as individual investors, look at the market in two dimensions, which is up and down. When we add options, it's actually path. We have a third dimension because now we have strike prices and we have an expiration date. So a price and a destination and a time frame. So we can.
All right, that's enough of that. She's making my hair hurt in the morning, bro. All right, let's go to let's see. Why spending holds strong despite consumer worries? Two underappreciated AI chip stocks. Is Bitcoin officially oversold? RSI says not so fast. All right, so let's see about these two. So let's do this one first.
Mike, it's good to see you. Let's talk about the OECD first and this perception that growth. I want to get into the work that you guys have done on the wealth gap and spending gap, but I do want to talk about what's going on in terms of that global growth outlook from the OECD, and that the economy has weathered tariffs better than had been expected. So what do you think about their 2% forecast for the U.S.?
Sure, it's good to be here. And in terms of the global growth outlook, we generally agree with that view in that we are expecting the U.S. growth outlook for 2026 to be slower than what we've seen here in 2025. And a lot of that has to do with what's going on with respect to the shifts in trade, as well as the uncertainty and really a lot of the inflationary pressures that are weighing on a lot of the consumers here in the U.S. So as we think about this, the best way that we've been able to explain what's going on is by quantifying this phenomenon that we've kind of been calling the K-shaped economy.
Right.
And it's a divergence in how people are feeling about economic prospects here in the US. And it's best exemplified by this divergence between consumer sentiment and the macro data. And the way we think about that is when you have folks who are feeling uncertain about their economic prospects, if they're a little bit unsure about their job prospects, they vote in these consumer surveys, and they have an equal weight to all other people who are voting. Conversely, when you think about the macro data, and in particular the consumption data, you don't have an equal weight there. Your spending power is really weighted by your income.
Right.
So that's what we talk about, and what we mean by this divergence in that K-shape. You have a disproportionate spending that is being done by a very small group at the top of the income.
Well, let me ask you something too, because we frequently talk about the gap and divergence between those consumer surveys and spending surveys. But usually the interpretation is, well, these people say they're not confident, but they go out and spend money anyway. But what you're saying seems to imply we're not talking about the same people necessarily. The people who say they're confident are spending the money, but they're disproportionately counted in a way in the spending. Does that, am I capturing that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of the story. When you think about what's gone on since, call it 2021, we had a lot of pandemic relief. A lot of folks benefited from that. At the same time, we had inflationary pressures, supply chain disruptions that came and caused a massive shift in price levels. And one of our studies early on identified inflation as being part of this force that is causing the divergence, in that inflation disproportionately impacts folks on the lower end of the income spectrum. Now, what's going on right now, though, is really a reflection of more so wealth. And what's driving that has been kind of the life cycle of what folks are investing in. And I think this is really interesting because it plays into a lot of our themes and what we're looking at in terms of 2026. But kind of the overarching theme is there's a big overlap, if you were to draw a Venn diagram of the high income households and baby boomers who are in retirement or about to retire. They have a lot of spending power right now, and it's a very large group.
Everyone talks about NVIDIA. OpenAI has clearly been part of the investor vernacular recently, but you've been highlighting Marvell, Broadcom as some underappreciated winners. So what are investors missing?
Yeah, like I mentioned, second half will be a key inflection point in terms of unit volumes. We have seen the couple of deals, right? Namely the Google Anthropic and the AWS Anthropic deals, and now some more outlook for more such deals are coming in. So when these large hyperscaler who they have their own AI ASICs are now trying to supply that to the external market, sort of competing with NVIDIA, the two companies that gain the most are the Broadcom and Marvell, where the valuations and the fundamental are not fully priced in yet. So we see some opportunities in these two names going forward.
And what do you think has been priced in so far? You've been talking a lot about the 2026 inflection point. Considering where valuations are today, especially among some of those mega cap names, how much is priced in versus what should investors expect to continue to drive some of that growth?
Yeah, so when we look at multiples for the overall AI names, especially large names, they don't seem to be at exorbitantly high levels, but we do think they have priced in the strong growth in 2026 and at least some portion of first half 27 that I mentioned. So at this point, it will come down to execution on the and the concerns are not more towards the spending side, but more on the supply side. Can these new programs like the AMD server rack ramp and the ASIC programs, can they execute? Will they run into some hiccups? And can the end infrastructure, which is the data center infrastructure, keep coming up at the same pace? Because remember, there's more bottlenecks now when it comes to spending, when it comes to power that these data centers need.
And just to keep the theme of the bubble conversation, I was reading a note from Bank of America, and they call this more of an air pocket supported by earnings and fundamentals. How would you describe where we're currently at in the AI cycle?
I think I would agree with that, given what's happening in the macro, the interest rate volatility, and especially this time of the year and the performance we have seen. I think it doesn't seem like, it does seem like an air pocket or sort of a hiccup on the way. Again, if the execution on the 26 numbers and first half 26 continue as projected, we don't see significant risk to valuation at this point. However, there has been this expectation set up of every quarter to be a beat and raise. So even a small timing hiccup, which could occur in one of these large ramps, could drive a bit of a volatility in terms of valuation.
Right.
We are breaking down the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, one of the simplest ways to see if an asset looks overbought or oversold. RSI tracks the speed of recent price moves, and when it pushes above the 70 level, traders say things are getting a little bit too hot. And below 30, it's a sign that the selling may have gone too far. So Bitcoin's RSI just made a full swing from overheated levels earlier this fall to flirting with oversold territory as the latest pullback shook out the fast money. So that kind of snapback tells you a lot about who's buying the dips, who's backing away, how fragile the sentiment is beneath the surface. So what do you see in Bitcoin's momentum right now in the RSI?
Yeah, I mean, RSI is a good. First of all, I like the structure of the show, I got to say, in terms of digging into the explainers here, because I think RSI is a good metric. The other one, too, is the fear gauge, somewhat similarly related. And we just hit, I think, a low on the year just a couple weeks ago in terms of extreme fear right now. And I think when you weigh in why that's happening, obviously, sometimes the catalysts that got us to the record highs of about 125, those evaporating obviously are going to swing back to the downside, which is why we saw about a 25% decline since the beginning of October. But I think we're finding our footing here to the point of the RSI reading. I think we're finally in that territory of those fears being overblown around strategy and some of the sell-off. So I would say this is why I'm optimistic and bullish here as we've kind of seen that pullback. It's not different historically than what we've seen in the past too. Even in a bull market, you can start to see some pullbacks like these. 25%, honestly, kind of modest by Bitcoin's historical measures. And if you're seeing a reading like this where things are overblown, I think it's healthy to start making some bids here.
All right, so let's jump back over here to our low flow scanner. We still got PLRZ leading with the percent gain, but not in volume. We have Kala leading in volume, 8 million shares traded there. Then under that, we have this red stock that is YGMZ. So let's go ahead and look at PLRZ, continue to trade downwards on this trend. Like I said, this was one of the Israeli stocks that really did damage to a lot of investors the first time it came up. Had the nasal news or whatnot, which really wasn't. I wasn't just in love with nasal news. But on the first day that it actually popped is when it tore people's wallets up. So was it this day or let me see? No, it was this day. Okay, so back on the 2nd, December 2nd, it popped up here, popped and popped, but never did break out, right? So just shook people around real good on that day. Then the next day, it was low volume and made a move down here to the 6s. And again, just really, really messy, low volume trading. Now today, during pre-market, it pops from 7 up to 21. Okay. And so it really, I'm just like, it really doesn't matter to me because with all of this motion, it's not doing any of it during intraday, and I think even it's showing us a pattern that during intraday, it's not a good trader anyway. So I think even today's intraday on PLZR is going to be nasty, especially on that low volume. The other one is Kala that we have here. It went up to a high of 141. And it's trending down. This is the ATR that was calculated from yesterday's close. And basically all this is if you've never heard of ATR, it is the average true range of the stock. So basically how much does it move taking into consideration the last 60 candles, right? So basically or 60 days, I guess you would say 60 days, not 60 candles. And yeah, so that's pretty much that calculation taken from the bottom here. So the ATR that it closed over yesterday was 27 cents. So from 95, it added 20 cents, added 27 cents and subtracted 27 cents to get these numbers from that close. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But let me see. It's just kind of trading down here with 8 million shares going towards 10 million shares, but it's only up 31% being this cheap and without a catalyst. I'm just not seeing a whole lot of reason to be playing with that one. PLRZ. So hopefully you all's week has been going pretty well. I've only got 2 trades. We went over the trades earlier. I just been taking my time with these trades and really just no rush, finding the structure, finding the things that we want to see and all of that. Like QTTB here. Let's click into this one and it should show my the price at which let me see where I bought. So this wasn't even a long buy. So this was a short one because it was weaker. So let me zoom in here. So look how quick this trade was. Here at 446 and pretty much selling out with that little, couple cents of winning. Not a long, I just saw a little bit of downwards trend here and I was okay, well, let's just see what this wants to do back up to the upside. Let me change this to extended line. So from the top, saw it coming down and I was like, okay, wait. From the top, saw it coming down here. Right there, that idea. I was like, okay, well, it's getting a little bit away from this, but it's going into this previous structure here that it had a little bit of chop in. So I'm wondering, is it going to find any kind of aggression? It came down and started showing a little bit of slowdown right at this level. And that's where I was buying. And I was looking for it to get on back up here, but it was just weak, choppy. So I went ahead and sold out of it. We haven't really seen any of those big movers that just continue yet, but while I'm making these little plays, I'm like, you know what? These are slower days. Let me take what I can get. 10 to 15 cents, cool. Because one of these is going to blow up and blow way past that 10 to 15%, and that's what I want to be catching. On that other trade, I don't know if the graph has showed up on this one. Usually it takes about a day for these to show up. Let me see. Oh, it did show up. Okay, yeah. Yep, so this was the buy down here. And it kind of dropped down, but I wasn't worried about that because it was way away from my stop. And then it just geared up. Now at the top side, I was up 111 bucks there. But I was waiting. I was waiting for it to break, and it went up to that top, looking for $120, and it just never. So I just started taking off profit, and ended up selling at a $80 win. So it is what it is. On this one, same thing. I was looking for a little bit of a bottom side structure to hold up here. So let me get my, and this is 15 minutes, so this looks different. Let me go to the 1 minute. Okay, so 1 minute. Now this is what I was looking at, and then let me get my extended little tool. Okay, so basically I was looking at this idea here. So this is where it kind of popped around here. So I was like, okay, well, let's just see what it can do. Actually, it wasn't even from there. Like right here is the level. Right here. And I was looking for it to hold this right here. So this became my stop out. Once it made this, went up here, I was like, okay, well, let's just see how this thing plays. Entering right around this average price of 392. And it went up. I was holding. It continued to hold this. Now, this was a stop riding this trend. If it would have broke this, I would have been out at 375. But it continued to ride up, ride up, ride up. And it tested this level multiple times. So I was looking for a big break through this level because it tested it once here at 4. Tested it again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and into this 6 and 7. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start selling out right up here around the 411. 411 was $100. So if I sold the whole thing, the whole thing the first time, that would have been $100. But I didn't. I sold a little bit, and it started falling. So I was like, okay, let's sell a little bit more. And I was planning on being out by the time it got through $4 flat. So by the time it got there, I was holding like 3 shares for this little drop down. I ended up selling that last 3 at 391 because I was looking and thinking it was going to go ahead and drop through. But yeah, that was that trade. So small trades, slow market, keep my head above water and swimming. Let me refresh the news and see if we have any new current news here. AI startup Flex raises 60 million to offer finance tools for mid-sized businesses. Exclusive Hungary's MOL interested in Luke oil asset, sources say. Okay, and then it's back to EU reviews removing tariffs on WV. Okay, we saw that before. Anything else? Let's see. Meme stock. Oh my goodness, not the meme stocks. What are they talking about with the meme stocks?
One of the areas that sees whipsaws is in the meme stock area. You guys recently reintroduced the meme ETF. It's not very big, we should say, but you know we see sort of little spurts of activity within that world. So, I mean, is it worth playing in memes at this point, especially if you don't have high conviction on individual names?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So when we think about sort of just these two funds that are on lineup, mags and memes, they're kind of like the opposite flavors of M&Ms, right? So one is your big cap tech with incredibly strong balance sheets, robust cash flow, and then memes is really driven by volatility, driven by retail investors. And we of course saw a huge run up in many of those names because there was a ton of interest in quantum, AI adjacent, crypto names, getting into AI and things of this nature. That's pulled back pretty sharply. A lot of that is driven by that kind of December rate cut coming off the table, then coming back on. But for an investor who's interested in sort of speculative areas of the market, one of the reasons we brought back meme was for people who wanted to take advantage of that, saying we don't believe meme should be the vast majority of anyone's portfolio, but for someone saying, hey, as opposed to seeing is today the day where Beyond Meat's going to get short squeezed, or is Drake going to finally invest in Open Door, you can get access to that basket as part of your broader portfolio.
Okay, and do we still? What's the thinking on like the meme activity as a reflection on of the bigger market?
So it's interesting. So if we look at sort of the individual trading volume, and then also if you include the options volume, there is a handful of those names, Open Door in particular, and others sort of in the quantum and nuclear space, which have outsized volume relative to their market cap.
Right.
So that's indicative, of course, of traders who are trading the name, right? I mean, it's simple math, but essentially, it's really driven in that case by what's happening in the macro environment and then the individual risk appetite on each of those names. And when we see, it's kind of to be expected, when that risk appetite collapses, like we saw in the early part of November, those names as a group are not necessarily going to perform well. Really in the last week or so, it's seen outsized performance on the upside because that sort of more speculative behavior has come back pretty strong in what I'm calling kind of a reversal.
All right, pause. We got one popping up, EKSO. Oh man, it already round tripped. No way. What's the catalyst here? EKSO Bionics Inc.'s agreement to become the exclusive U.S. distributor of MediTouch's groundbreaking balance tutor rehabilitation center or system. Okay, so let's do a little bit of due diligence. It's up 14% right now, hit a high of 694. Let me go ahead and get this one looked up. EKSO. And let's look at that float. EKSO. So EKSO float looking like, come on now. Float is looking like 2.31 million on the float. Not super heavy holding by insiders or institutions. Let's go look at the profile for it. Let me get my notes out. All right, profile. Esco Bionics. No, that's Bionics Holdings. Designs, develops, sells, and rents exoskeleton products. In the Americas, Germany, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, the Asia Pacific, and internationally. The company provides Esco NR, a wearable bionic suit and rehabilitation device that assists physical therapists and physicians to treat patients with acquired brain injury, stroke, and spinal cord injury. Esco Indigo Therapy, an adjustable and lower limb powered exoskeleton. Oh my goodness, all of this exoskeleton stuff. Okay. It also offers blah blah blah. Okay, so it is out of San Rafael, California, so it is US based. Let's go look at what. Okay, so this was a healthcare company with 61 employees. Copy that. And let me look at that float one more time. What was that float? I forget it already. Float is looking like 2.3 million, 2.31 million. Float 2.31 million. I kind of like it. We'll see how it goes. We got another one popping up as well. FRSX. So we did our due diligence there. Let's jump over to FRSX. Went up to $3. Does it have a catalyst? It does. Catalyst says Foresight iNet receives $3 million investment, reflecting 55 million valuation. So both of these have catalysts on the day. Let's do our due diligence on this one. FRSX. Foresight autonomous whatever has a float of 97.54 million. That's too high. That floats too high on FRSX. That's insane. How is the float this, but the shares outstanding this? Float needs to be lower than your shares outstanding. That's I don't like that. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this profile, what it actually does. And this is another thing going towards the automotive automation. I don't know what to call it, but it is up 25%. So let's look Foresight. Oh, this is an Israeli stock. Oh boy. Well, let's go ahead and mark that. Go ahead and take that note. Foresight, autonomous, whatever, technology company in development of smart multispectral 3D vision software solutions and cellular-based applications for automotive industry in Israel, Japan, and the United States. Okay, so it develops in line of sight of vision solutions, blah, 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 but it is Israeli stock, so could go nasty like the other one. Let's go ahead and take those notes. Israel. That float was 97 million. Let's see what else. So it is a consumer cyclical and auto parts with 81 employees there. All right, so doing our due diligence. Okay, so Exco went down to 5% there. Wow. Back under the ATR highs that it had captured. The bionic. I need to take some put the keywords in my notes as well. So let's go back over to EKSO and get some of these keywords out of here. Okay, so keywords for this one. Edit. Develop sales. Okay, exoskeleton. Here's a keyword. Exoskeleton. Let's see. Americas, all that. Brain stroke. I don't even know if any of these are really standout words. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. It was founded in 2005, so it looks like it's got a little bit of history on that one. I kind of like it better than that other one we saw. I'm gonna definitely keep my eyes on it. So I'm just gonna save that right there. But it may go red actually. Let's go look at the daily chart for EXO. So it's like I looked at this one before, but these are not marked like I usually mark them, so I know they're super old. Okay, so EXO had this level up here, the 567, that is still up there and holding. Maybe it'll go back up there and test that at some point today. But the first thing we need to find on EXO is structure. So we'll see where it ends up falling to and if it can start the uptrend on EXO. The other one, FRSK or whatever, also back down to 5%. Look at that big fall off. Israeli stock. Gotta hate them. Gotta hate the way they move. Crazy. I don't like that, man. Anyway, so this is what our low float is looking like. Oh, snap. My bad. I was saying this EKSO, I'm looking for some kind of structure of uptrend to start building over this ATR high. So ATR high right now is at the 482s, and I'm looking for it to trade above this. This is the only one I see that I really kind of like the news, the exoskeleton. And I mean, it could give us a little move today, so we'll see. Hit a top side of 694 though. Let's go look back at that daily chart. So basically down here, it's needs to get back over 561 first. That's the first order of business. And then above that, it's really kind of open season above that level. But it's definitely got some work to do to get back up. FRSX has went back red, negative 4%. So now EKSO is the number 3 position. Looking forward to FRSX going down there to ATR lows and pushing. So that's out of play. I don't ever trade them once they do that. I'm cool. But yeah, EKSO still waiting for structure to build on some type of uptrend. And let me actually update this. This is actually a daily triple top that's been tested 3 times up here on this 561. So daily triple top level right there. Did it save it? What? Daily triple top level, and it didn't change. Is it 2 lines there or something? Let me delete that. Remove, and I will put it right back where it was, right at that 5. It's been tested multiple times there. Right at the 560 is what I'm seeing. Daily triple top. That should change it. Okay, there we go. Now we can see it over here. So daily triple top level right around that 560-ish level. And it's trying to press down right now, only up 5%. So Kala finding a little bit of downwards motion off of that level as well. PLRZ still trading within the downtrend. Maybe this is another range play based day. I'm like, if it is, oh well, I'll definitely take advantage of it. But I need to see EKSO over this 480 and starting to hold up. Because right now it's clipping down. The low of pre-market was 457. And right here at the 457s here, but it's no structure, so no really tested structure. And this is the first test through it and holding a level here. So we'll see how it ends up holding up towards these, back towards this level of the 480s. And where's the point of control? Point of control is at 466 right now on the 1 minute. On the 5 and 15, 5 minute, it's at the 472. And then on the 15 minutes at the 480. So right at that ATR breakover. Let's go ahead and draw that in. So 480 right there. Out here to the 466 is where the highest levels of trading have happened here during this period. Okay. But at this point, kind of drying up in volume, so it is what it is. Kala, without any catalyst, still outperforming. And as I say that, Kala looks like it wants to bomb. Kala out here looking like it's on bomb threat. Yep. EKSO. 6%, but I really don't want to buy this thing at 6%. I'd rather, I mean, I'm just like, bro, 6%, bro. I don't know. You could easily be red like these other ones. But I don't trust it. Trading within this this box here, 480s is at ATR high. Has not got back up there since it fell through it. So opening up in the box, and it is slightly holding this level, but again, I still don't trust it all the way. It's been 1, 2, kind of 3, but still that's 6%. And let's look at the 15-minute actually. Let's look at these other charts while we got time. So this is the 15-minute. Big candle, right back down to it, right at that 480 level. Let's go to the 5-minute. 5-minute, same thing, just right in this little crease armpit here, and really has to make a decision and show us some strong structure that stays above 450s. Exoskeletons. Nobody believes in the old sci-fi, all the sci-fi movies we have of exoskeletons. And this is the kind of love we get. All right, so right under this 480 level, bottom side of this is 466. Will it fail that original idea is the question. 467, hard testing. Yep. So this is why I was like, we need structure. So now the low is 457. Let's see what it wants to do over this 457. This would be a new idea if it can continue to hold green. So let me get that marked up. If it can hold. I don't know if it can hold. Kind of looks like it wants to come on down. Yep. All right. It did not hold. So that's why we wait for structure. So that level up there, that box that we drew, became a little bit of and now at this point it disqualifies this uptrend, but this uptrend can become some type of upward resistance. It's only at 1% now, so now it's got to form a whole new uptrend and start to test this level up here, the 475s. So the new idea starts from here, and then whatever points out here, we make another uptrend and see if it can actually start holding. But at this point, my barometer for that, my risk appetite is not looking too good, especially with this one without any catalyst still outperforming with 23 million shares traded up here. No catalyst. just chilling. Well, it's a continuation catalyst, but basically what it was an investor invested $6 million, and it's just, I guess, moving off of that, and that came on December 1st for Kala. Still in this downtrend though. EKSO looks like it is going to try to go red. Yep. Pushing on under the 450s there. And again, like I said, this is the ATR low here. So, you know, really, if it crosses that level, it's done for me. And what's the probability of it going from here back up to 100%? It's not super high. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not super high here, especially as volume falls off. Doesn't mean it's never going to go up on that news, but yeah, the momentum definitely isn't there. And Kala continues to look like it wants to break out of these 130s, 140s. So if this is where the people are with 24 million shares traded, you know, this is where I'll watch then, if nothing else wants to play. Throwing up the wick there. And Kala, 25 million shares traded now. EKSO coming back over 450s. Can it start to trend upward? Can it get a new idea? So 440 was the bottom here. 480, so 40 cents up there is going to be hitting his head. Kala, you're going to continue to push. Up 48%. Most bullish looking low float we got on today. All right, well, Kala is where it's at for now. So I will continue watching on, and kind of see what happens. But yeah, I will keep y'all updated on my movement in the Discord. The one that I liked was EKSO, but the one that everybody else likes is Kala. So, you know, it is what it is. My wants or my desires do not matter in the market. It's pretty much, hey, let's find where the people are. Almost 30 million shares traded on this one, and everybody else is still under 10 million. So it's like, let's find where the people are. Once Kala fails, then maybe something else will get a ride. But until it fails, it's the thing. It's the place to be looking as a low float trader. And if it's not beating your scope or what you usually trade, then it's a no trade day. You know what I mean? Like the fire is here. And it keeps rising. So yeah, is this a pre-market high here? Yeah, it is pre-market high. So this invalidates that, remove, and we will see how it plays above these uptrends here. This uptrend was from the low of yesterday, and so it's got a couple down here. I'm not sure, it hasn't really tested any of these. It kind of just held up and is going higher. But yeah. And let's look at Kala's daily chart before I jump off of here. On the daily chart, this is what Kala did. So was up $20, big drop down to, this has to be a reverse split. Has to be. That's a huge drop from 20 down to like $1.86. Currently it looks like it is trying to get up to this peak level. So the peak level up here was 191. Actually, let me delete this, remove, and activate and move this up. Activate and move this up. And then we can get rid of all of these. These really don't matter. They're out of play now. All right, so we'll see how that does. But yeah, I really wanted to see EKSO hold up, but I'll continue watching. I'll come back and maybe if it during the open, if this is where people jump to, great. But I need to see Kala do a hard fall, either halt down or something. I need to see something bad happen to Kala. I'm not saying I'm praying on his downfall, but I do have a little. I am very. If I was a short, I would that's where I would like to see them go to do their work. But anyway, EKSO still no true structure, needs to hold above 440s. If it can start holding 440s and maybe starting to trend up for a break of this level of the 475s, it will look a lot better, especially to go up and test this 565, but hasn't started to any of that type motion yet. But I will be keeping it on watch to see if it can do some type of motion like that. And it is still trading below this the previous points of control. So let me stretch this out. Activate, and this is at the 466. So move this on out here, 466. Okay, and I'm going to see if this point of control continues to be some type of problem for it to try to get up off of. At this point, once it closes this candle, there is a new looking idea here, but we'll see how that works out, if it can hold here. New candle opening, maybe. Okay, there's a new candle. We'll see if it can hold, but again, not too sure. Has room back up there if it wants to hold this trend. But like I said, no rush trading. If Kala wants to be the one, it's got 30 million shares traded now. So it's super trash. Super trash. 30 million shares traded, man. Somebody really believes in that investor. I don't know who he is or what strings he has, but somebody really believes in him. All right, well, I'm about to jump off. I'm about to get going to the other office, and once I get over there, I will hit y'all up in the Discord. The Discord is free. You can jump in there, and that's where we continue conversations. Yeah, I will see y'all later. Kala right now is the place to be until it fails. I need to see a hard fall. I want to see a fall and a dry up of volume. That's really what I would like to see. But anyway, about to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will be back streaming tomorrow during pre-market. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.